Hey, my name is shawnshawn. I sell art on shawnshawn.co, and today we're going to react to SLEW. So SLEW, as it sounds, is obviously graffiti moniker, S-L-E-W. So a lot of graffiti artists will kind of combine really interesting letters, not necessarily how they sound, but how they combine, which is really cool. SLEW actually sounds like a word, so that's kind of nice as well. You don't always have that. You know, sometimes people just choose illogical letters. It's much smarter to always choose something that sounds like a word so that people can pronounce it. You're going to be better known versus just some random combinations. But within the graffiti world, it really doesn't matter. So the interesting thing is he's gone from graffiti, murals, and now he's doing kind of fine art. So he's kind of crossing that boundary between graffiti and fine art. There's obviously a lot of money in fine art. Graffiti, not so much. So it makes sense to make that transition. So let's check out his stuff. So this one is from 2020 and June, so it's pretty recent, and it's one of his graffiti murals. So let's check it out, guys.
This video right here, you should go on YouTube. I think, in my opinion, is my best, most successful graffiti piece, and also the video. This is when I got my newer camera. What's up? We're back, sitting at the desk where I belong. I got the SLEW merch on. This is a Super XLT, too big for me, but you know, the launch was great, overwhelming support. We're about to sell out, so go.
So right at the bat, I don't know what's with the camera, but it's all blurry, so it might just be my computer is streaming it wrong. I don't know, but it looks kind of crappy. But obviously great artist, so let's keep going.
Check it out. But we're back with another reaction video about the artwork. We did the paintings, reaction of all the paintings. Pretty much I just want to get across in this 3-part series I'm doing that, you know, it's really interesting to see my own process and, you know, that I can talk about it, not just documenting, you know, the actual quantitatively, the evidence of, you know, my process.
Okay, let's skip that part. Just want to get to the painting.
Got this independent study accepted where it was me in my own class studying graffiti, and what I meant by that was kind of like talking about how it was a youth pop culture phenomenon, and now it's like a super global renowned art form, and pretty much I was just allowed to spray paint on campus. So this is under a dormitory, and pretty much I was just, you know, writing my name, SLEW, and this was like, I've never really done this before. I was painting in my garage a little this summer before, but these are like my first ever experiences with graffiti. And obviously I'm not in some crew, I'm not a graffiti head, I'm not getting up illegally. I'm just like practicing my name, obviously going right for pieces, but you can see all the hand styles behind. So I was just obsessed with it, and I loved using spray paint. And so this independent study was just me experience that, and it was crazy that my boarding school actually let me do that. It's a really amazing story. Funny story enough, during this exact independent study, during spring break, in the town that the boarding school was in, because I had a friend who lived there, I was doing graffiti and I actually got arrested. And it was really bad, and I got in a lot of trouble, but the school didn't find out, the college that I applied to didn't find out. I just had to do community service and whatnot, but it was pretty ironic because I was doing an independent study about how graffiti was such a awesome art form, and it was started by youth pop culture, and it's not just vandalizing, and I was just like a dumb kid who wanted to spray paint illegally.
So it's really cool. He's kind of doing like a whole series of the studies, so it's really cool that he has all this. You can see his development of his art and craft. You normally don't have, normally the way they shoot these is usually it's just one piece, and you kind of like get to the set, you take all your cans, you show up, you're kind of dodging the police, you spray paint, and then you get the hell out of there. And that's kind of like the traditional way of doing graffiti. Obviously very dangerous in the sense that you can be arrested. It's a felony graffiti, you go to prison, so that really sucks. Normally you can kind of get out of it if it's your first offense, so that's why he only got a little bit of community service. But he's obviously showing the practice, so it's really cool. You're seeing his skill sets just going over and over and over and over again, so you can just see the variety of lettering. And this is crucial within graffiti. You always want to do kind of you start off with first just kind of your tags, which is just your name written really quick, and then you go to bubbles, which is a really fast spray, fill it in, line it, and then boom, you're out the door. It's kind of like a really fast graffiti. And then you kind of scale up to different levels, and then at some point it kind of crosses over from bubbles to piecing, right? And so this is kind of getting to that piecing level, which is a really professional level, which is obviously hard to master, and at the same time extremely time consuming. So how do you do that in the outside graffiti artist? Very challenging, right?
Anyways, we could talk about that story time some other time, but yeah, so these are just like the pieces going through real quick. I was 18 and 19 during this senior year. I repeated in high school, so that's why I graduated 19. But yeah, there was no rhyme or reason, and there wasn't even any style being developed here. This is just me using colors, using spray paint. I was looking at all the, you know, famous artists and just having an absolute blast, you know. And I mean, this is
kind of cool. Let's go ahead a little bit.
A piece of graffiti that I certainly wanted to include because I thought it was righteous. Not only the letters and the style.
So you can see here there's boards in the background. So this is kind of a legal mural in someone's backyard. So it looks like graffiti, but it's actually someone putting posts up. It's just so you don't get caught, but you can still film it so you don't get in trouble. Once you cross the line from going from graffiti to filming it, you really have to kind of do all legals. Otherwise, the police will just document all the stuff on YouTube and use it against you. So there's really kind of a thing where it's like you're either illegal and you have it posted illegal, you know, you have it posted through some really secret way, and hopefully the police don't figure it out. But it's kind of naive to think the police won't eventually figure out who it is. You'll slip up somewhere, not blur the face right or whatever. Banksy's been very, you know, notable of keeping his face sacred. But once you put your face in front of the video, you're going straight to fine art because there's no other way around it. You can still stay in murals and do graffiti style, but you can't do illegal graffiti. You have to do pure murals at that point, which, you know, then the graffiti art's like, this isn't real art, and you're like, whatever, I'm making a living, dude. Versus like doing it on the side and then never being famous, being poor and stealing your paint, just like this miserable life. Like, why would you want to do that for a long term? For get going and you're in high school, fine, whatever, right? But then once you get older, you kind of want to be a more mature artist. So it's kind of interesting to see that.
The video with JT's playing music here. We did this whole video. You should go check it out if you haven't seen it. But talking about the graffiti specifically, you know, at this point I have the studio with him and we're building the studio. And so in the studio, I want to do more paintings and I'm trying to develop myself as a more fine artist. And so slowly, you know, graffiti isn't being as current in my kind of repertoire of what I'm painting, but you know.
Okay, so I think we get the point there. Let's move on. So this is a self-portrait video, so let's go check it out. It's a self-portrait challenge.
For all the hard work, and if you love painting, like myself. Rewind 2 weeks when I originally stretched this canvas and start from the beginning.
So a nice lot of fast cuts, so it makes it move along really fast, but you still have the story developing of getting the materials, putting the frame, the stretcher bars together, cutting the canvas, and kind of building up towards the painting. It's kind of a nice build up to starting the painting.
Now that's a nice clean canvas. No wrinkles. Tight as a drum. Gotta be equally clean on the back as the front. Bam! Self-portrait challenge. I don't think I'm the first person ever create a self-portrait challenge. You know, hundreds of artists, I think, do self-portraits every week, all the time.
All right, so he's going props out. Let's go to head when he actually starts.
Super excited. I'm so excited. Let's begin. So I'm gonna do these
freaking ads, man.
little self-critiques for the 45-second time lapses. Say something I did successful, something unsuccessful, just to get a little dialogue in. But you'll see that the likeness of this portrait is pretty good. I was pretty happy with the likeness, resembling myself, the photo reference. I think the hair is generally too dark in the face, perhaps you'll see at the end. Especially when comparing it to all the other faces in a row, you'll see later. But also the paint application specifically, it wasn't super opaque. Parts of the canvas were kind of showing through, and that was just me being probably timid and hesitant for the first portrait. I really like that kind of cold purple shadow, top left corner by the hair. I really like that. That's my favorite part. But generally pretty successful. I'm happy with this portrait.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. So yeah, don't use your iPhone to shoot. Use a 50mm. You're gonna get way better proportions. This is actually too close as well. But if you get the 50mm, you're gonna get, oh, the photo is just fantastic. I've seen it with people that use a lot of phone face-ups, and then they get a 50mm, and they instantly like 100% better. So ideally, you would just shoot this all at 50mm distance and have kind of a remote thing, because you can hook up a lot of, like this camera, you can set up to your cameras, like shoot, and actually control the shooting from here. I don't use it per se. I usually use time lapse, or I use a timer. That's a simple way to do it. But yeah, don't use straight off your phone. It's going to be way better if you shoot off that 50mm lens, at least, or 70 even's better sometimes. Depends on what you like.
If you're wondering, yeah, I wear pretty much the same thing in the studio, pants, sweatshirt every day, just in case paint gets on it. I don't have to ruin all my clothes. But something I also didn't realize that is kind of an oopsie. The paint's still wet. One day isn't enough for it to dry. It's only covering a little, you know, the faces are only overlaying a tiny bit, so it's not a huge deal. I just didn't even think about that. But the colors we're using today, because I have that saturated, you know, beanie in the photo, I'm using all cadmiums, the CAD palette, I guess you can say. Titanium white, CAD yellow deep, cadmium orange, cadmium red medium, ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, and burnt umber.
So that's a really nice, you demonstrate the paint colors as you go along, so let's keep going.
Pretty limited, but that's what we're doing. Let's begin. So this is I think one of my more successful self-portraits out of all the 6. Obviously start with the hat, kind of do it by sections, trying to get that, you know, voluminous cylindrical shape. And you could see, like I said before, when comparing them, you can kind of see faults and other things. So I went more orange with the skin tones, and I brought that back a little, you just saw. But I think this face generally had more life to it. The colors were a little more saturated. The paint application was thicker. You know, the nose a little pink there, give it life, and just generally, I don't know how to explain it other than it looks more alive. The proportions are all good. So yeah, that's portrait number 2. Day 3, we're going no hat again. Trying to switch up the lighting also.
So it's funny, he's just using an iPhone straight off the bat. Let's get to this one.
Excited, let's begin. Zorn Palette, and I was so excited to start this, starting with the hair. It's pretty easy to get these hair tones with the Zorn Palette, some black, yellow, ochre. I went too dark with that shadow side at first, also a little too orange, I thought. I tend to do that. I tend to put not enough reds. And right here it looks pretty good, you know, soft, but then I get too chalky. What I mean by that is I use too much white to lighten the value, obviously, and then it just looks chalky and orangey a little. Also the raccoon eyes, you'll see at the end, it looks just a little, like I'm a little cracked out, honestly. But still successful, I think. Just those are some issues I had. But yeah, portrait number 3, the wry smile. Day 4, I finally changed.
All right, so I think we get the picture of how the portrait's going to turn out. It's pretty cool. He's talking about discussing each layer as he goes along, how he shoots the different photographs. So it's a really cool way to shoot a video like this, I think. This video is about an art collab. So one of the great ways as a YouTuber to kind of grow is kind of collab with different artists, especially if it's right in your sector. Like he's obviously reaching out to 1000, Kipto. He's trying to reach out different artists that are also famous. So it's, you just share audiences and then you both grow. So that's a great way to do it, is using a collab technique. Let's look at this. So right at the bat, that's really cool. You kind of walking through the whole scenario. It's like a day in the life vlog. So it's a really nice feel to the video. I've done that myself in some of my earlier videos. I probably should do it more. It definitely helps you add that kind of, I don't know, just gives it something else of where you live, what you're doing, how you work, your studio, and you kind of throw little bits and pieces of that. It kind of gives it a lot more flavor to a painting tutorial. You'll see a lot of people on painting tutorials. They'll just start a painting, they'll have the paints off one side and they paint, and it's like they're a great painter, but then there's no story, there's no connection. And maybe they have a voiceover, which is fine, but they don't have that nice vlog feel to it, and this has a nice vlog feel to it. God damn it, keep popping that up. Get rid of those damn symbols. This guy's like Instagram posts. He got a giant knife to cut it open. This is so ridiculous. That's great visuals though.
Oh yeah. Nice packaging. Oh. Save the box. You don't know what this is already? Well then, sorry. You should. It is 1000's canvas.
1000's an awesome freaking artist. I've covered him before.
Would you look? Wow, it's so awesome. Would you look at that?
Pretty.
Beautiful
Very pretty.
wooden panel. Oh wow, the matte paint he used is definitely matte. Very cool. What is this? If you haven't seen 1000's video, if you don't know who 1000 is, shame on you.
All right, so let's skip the intro on that.
Cut into overlap, intersect my art, please feel free. I'm hoping a cohesive composition at the end. Please sign the back when you are done. You can reach out to me to cover shipping costs if needed. Once the painting feels pretty much full and complete, and then email 100 out and you get back to me. I will varnish the final piece and put hanging hardware on it. I will make a final video to be finished piece announced to be auctioned after the piece for charity. Hit me up with any questions. Thanks, Peter 1000. Wow. This is so awesome. I'm so excited. Stay tuned to the end of the video to see who I'm sending it to. But watch the whole process because we have a lot of work to do on this bad boy. So it's the next morning. I've had a lot of time to think.
So it's kind of cool. They're doing, it's like 1000 sent him a painting. He's going to do a collab with it. And then they're going to send it to another artist. So they have a 3-way share. So you're sharing 3 different audiences and then grow all 3 audiences. Pretty smart.
What I'm trying to do with my portion of this painting and for all the projects I do, you know, I try to be very aware of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how I'm going to do something.
Okay, he has a lot of explanation, which is really cool. Let's go ahead a little bit.
Right here, we're going to insert a photo. This is the photo
Well, these ads are killing me.
We'll blow it up just a little. And what I'm going to do is just loosely trace. I'm going to lower this opacity just a little, and I'm going to loosely trace this wrist I have right here. And it's just a loose trace to get this kind of down, the reference I used. And we have the knuckles right here. I could change all of this later. Obviously, this is just the loose trace I want to get kind of the proportions of some sort of being holding a sword. So super simple like that. Doesn't need to be anything crazy. And then what I can do is hide this layer, do that background out, and then put this on top. And then we have this little sword. Oops. We have this little guy. What the fudge? Here we are. And you can see I can kind of rotate this around and it's kind of locked in here, looking good.
So yeah, I would highly encourage people to use whatever software they're using with the iPad. Is definitely a great way to learn how to draw, and you cut down your material cost to 0 basically. You just have to buy the iPad, the software, and then it's like 0 cost, right? Unless it's subscriber based. It might be a subscriber based app and you have to pay per month, I don't know, but great way to practice your skill set. No cost, and just really develop a lot of different ideas without worrying about spending a lot of money on paint supplies.
The generic kind of style of using Procreate, that's awesome to flesh out ideas. So we're gonna crack on and kind of loosely get an idea of what I'm gonna be actually painting. So the iPad, it's an absolutely wonderful tool. I've used it for years and years. This is actually a 2017 12-inch iPad. And you know, I do digital painting, quote unquote, sometimes, but really what the iPad is like a digital utility. It's really for me to flesh out ideas. It's sort of like a previs machine, you know, preliminary visionary stuff, just seeing what goes where, moving shapes around super easily. That's why I love it. It's really quick and a powerful utility. So what I'm doing is I just printed it out to size. I kind of measured it a couple times, and what I'm going to do, similar to 1000, what he did also, and what's a magical tool, is using carbon transfer paper. And so I'm laying my kind of image on that, and what I'm going to do is just cut this, slim it down so I can, you know, really place.
So it's a pretty cool transfer process. Go a little bit ahead.
So much awesome artwork. It's really exciting. I can't wait to review it all. The deadline is March 6th, and the review video and award-winning review video will be March 12th or 13th. So I just want to say that, remind everyone.
So that's a great way to build up your audience once you do kind of break through as an artist, is have an art contest for fellow artists to kind of help pull them up with the popularity and just share your own artwork and get better known within the artist community. So really smart co-branding and collab across, besides the collab with 1000. He's also doing a collab with these other artists, so a really smart idea here.
Have a week or two depending on when you see this video, so check it out. Let's begin. And so we begin, and I was super nervous, super excited, all of the emotions when starting this. You know, usually my own projects are for most artists, making anything, you know, your project is your own, you're the god, you have full control. And in this situation, this collaboration, you know, I was just a small piece, just had my small hand in this section of this larger collaboration. So I was a little nervous, but it's one of those things where you just got to jump in. And I had my plan, started up, and using fluid acrylic paints, and my goodness, I was just thinking about 1000 the whole time because he does so many smaller paintings with acrylics, using the same fluid acrylic I use, but you know, he gets such amazing detail with this paint, and paint's so small. These are certainly the smallest couple paintings I've ever done. By far the
Ads!
smallest Cyclopses, and I hardly use brushes this small. You know, I use acrylic paint a lot actually, but it's larger scale and it's more, I'd say it's less complex and more, you know, stylized and graphic oriented. Whereas, you know, 1000 definitely does all the different things also, but he has a wonderfully beautiful painterly style with these acrylic paints. And it's just different, and I was just struggling the whole time, fumbling around, doing the best I could to kind of, you know, just maintain my clean lines. But it was a great challenge, super fun. You know, I love seeing my different renditions of Cyclopses and in different styles, different sizes, different settings. So it was a joy. It was joyous for me. And you could see the size of my thumbnail for this Cyclops and even this liner brush. I was just like, holy moly, how do people do this? But it was super fun, and you could obviously see this kind of shish kebab, you know, Cyclops that I was going for. I thought it was a really funny idea, and you know, I was just thinking about the orientation of the background, the negative space, what other artists are going to do. So all of this stuff was in the back of my mind, and you know, as I was concentrating on trying to just finish these characters off, I was looking at the background, the negative space, this blue bold color. I tried to mimic 1000 background just to keep it cohesive, and I saw that there was a lot of kind of negative space. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to do something to kind of fill in more of this background, the space that I took up, make it a little more cohesive. And I kind of just stumbled across this, you know, kind of flatter orange.
So it's nice here, he's kind of done time-lapse, and now he's slowing it down to like normal speed, so you got that nice mix between time-lapse and the real-time speed of painting, so that's always really cool. Let's go ahead to the end, I think.
Next artist is gonna do. Who is the next artist, you ask?
They're milking it for the ads here, bro.
Hey there, SLEW. So you're telling me that I'm the next one in the row?
So this is super smart. They have Doke, Tenhun, and then they got this guy, and these guys are like some of the best top YouTubers. Like Doke has 1 million subscribers. This guy has like 561, I think. The other guy has maybe 1000, maybe has 700,000. I'm not sure on the numbers. Don't count me in. But to collab against 3 artists like that, it's like literally you probably have a very similar audience, but still, it's like you can pick up 20,000 here, 20,000 there, 50,000 there. It's like boom, you automatically all get like 20,000 extra subs, right? It's like a genius.
Okay, right now, let's just hope that the canvas will make it safely to Europe, and I can't wait to see what you've done there. Cheers.
So yeah, really cool video. Let's see, I think that's our last one, right? We painted this and we did this, yeah, so really interesting artist. Obviously you see that development from the graffiti world to the mural world, and then later into fine art. He's doing this really smart collab that we just covered between Doke and Tenhun. You obviously just share the audience. Really smart there. Really cool, fun project as well, because it's just fun to do that. Besides the fact that it's smart on the back end for gaining more subscribers. He has a really good technique of explaining the whole process to the viewer, so that's really nice. Really gritty kind of studio look. It doesn't have that clean image that a lot of artists have. You know, well, not all artists, but some have the super clean look, and then this is more a natural feel, I think, to the studio. It's just bring out the paint. There's paint splatter here and there, and it just looks like a real painting space, right? Versus other people might have a super clean studio, and you're like, how do they maintain it that clean? But if you paint really precisely in very thin layers, you probably can get away with that, but if you use any kind of splatter technique or anything like that, you're not going to have a clean studio. So it always makes you wonder, is like, are they faking it? So this has this nice gritty feel to it. Really cool that he's covered multiple styles back and forth. It's more of a challenge to do that as an artist. It's way easier to do, like if you would have stuck with graffiti and slowly kind of evolved the graffiti look, and slowly evolve that, similar to, say, the mind escapes me. There's some girl artist. I can't remember her name right now. She's huge, but she just kind of evolved her whole graffiti style, and it's always consistent and just kind of sees that natural transition. Same with Saber, more or less. He kind of stayed with the graffiti style. He did do fine art on the side, but he's way more known for the graffiti style. Or say Banksy kind of started in graffiti style and then got to his stencils and stayed with the stencils, or Shepard Fairey stencils all the way through. And so it's easier to make it as an artist if you just focus on one style. It's easy collectible. People are like, oh, I see the older one, it matches the newer one. There's no confusion. If you do multiple styles and people are like, is that really this guy? Is that guy? Is this his style? Blah, blah, blah. And you get a lot of confusion in the marketplace. But you know, if you got a whole bunch of views, he's got, just in this last video, 126,000 views. You got 800,000 or something on another, you know, you're doing fine, right? So it's not so stodgily defined like how the gallery system wants you to do it. I want you to do a series, one style only. So you don't really need to follow that now per se. It is easier at first to focus on one style, and then kind of as you get known, then you can kind of branch out a little bit. Probably the best strategy, I would say. But yeah, go check out SLEW. It's pretty cool. Hope to see you on the next Artist React. Thanks for watching, guys.